Welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour, where each week we give you the best in the business news that you can use, tips and information on how you can make your business more profitable, and hear from a special business guest who will share their own successes and failures and experience. Our guest this week is Scott Harper, President of the Greater Conroe, LakeConroe Area Chamber of Commerce. I am your host, Rick Schissler, a Silver Fox advisor who personally has 40 plus years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil or computer, and get ready to take notes. Good morning and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Journal Show. My name is Rick Schissler and I'm your host. Each week I will be bringing you the latest local, area, and national business news that you can use. The program will feature an interview with a local business person. Our discussion will center on their business, how they got started, and how they have been able to make their business successful. Each month we will have a business-centric theme such as planning, financing, or how do I find the best employees. Our show is for anyone who already owns a business, whether they work solo or have employees, and for those who are thinking about starting their own business. A bit of information about myself. Again, my name is Rick Schissler, and I'm a Silver Fox advisor. Silver Fox advisors are former business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEOs dedicated to assisting business owners to improve their enterprises through mentoring and consulting. We share our knowledge, experience, and skills, thus allowing clients to improve their growth and profitability in a cost-effective manner. As a part of our show, I will offer some advice and encouragement on our monthly topic. I will take your questions by email, Facebook, and Twitter, IR Lone Star. All of these addresses are posted on the Lone Star website at www.irlonestar.com. I would encourage each of you to check out the Lone Star website for the latest on the upcoming community events, including what is happening with the Conroe Independent School District schools, the Chamber of Commerce, music, and area nonprofits. Lone Star Internet Radio is Conroe and Montgomery County's community radio station, where the community comes to connect. So first today, I will give you a topic that we're going to work with during the next few shows, and that's business planning. How we plan our daily activities, how we plan our long-term business, strategic planning, and other types of planning that are available to business owners, which in the end will make them more successful. In my opinion, planning is a critical ingredient for any successful business, whether a sole proprietor or a multinational corporation with offices around the world. I would suggest that it's just as important for the small as it is for the large business. The key advantage of planning is that it keeps us on track, focused, and we do not waste the valuable resources of our time and money going in the wrong direction. There is no doubt that it's easier for the sole proprietor to skip this step in building their business. But the real question is, how successful does that sole proprietor want to be in the business that they've started? The old adage, it's hard to find time to work on my business when I spend all my time working in it, comes to play. We all must find the time to work on our business. Otherwise, each day passes and we follow the same routines. And at the end of the day, week, month, and year, we have not gotten very much further than we were the first day. We have spent a lot of time and perhaps money, but have we really maximized the investment we have made in our business? That is the central question. My challenge to every business person is to step back a few minutes each day, week, month, and year, and make sure you're headed in the direction you intended when you first started. At some point, I suggest that you will make a plan, and then you will work the plan, and the plan, if properly conceived, will deliver the results you intended. One final comment for today. Like all important issues, don't wait until tomorrow to start. Find a few minutes, think about it, and reduce it to writing. Build a plan for your business. If you would like some additional resources, feel free to contact me at rschissler, RSCHISSLER, at silverfox, SILVERFOX.org. And now moving to my favorite part of our program, and that is an interview with our guest. Today our guest is Scott Harper. Scott is the president of the Greater Conroe, LakeConroe Area Chamber of Commerce. Scott, welcome to our program today.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to meeting with you today.
Just a few questions to get it started, and then we'll kind of open the discussion. How did you first become interested in chamber work?
Well, that's a pretty interesting story. During my time with the YMCA, I spent 10 years professionally within the YMCA. First 5 was in Tampa, Florida, and I lived in just north of Tampa and was asked to serve on the board of the Chamber of Commerce of Dade City, Florida. And so got to learn more about what the Chamber of Commerce does and how it can positively impact the community. And then during my time here in Conroe for the 7 years, and when I worked for the YMCA, I was asked to serve on their board of directors as well. Got to know that organization very well, and the opportunity came about when the previous president retired after 17 years of service. Great opportunity, so it allowed me to put my name in the hat, and here I am now as the president, just finishing up my first year.
Well, that's great. Would you give our audience an idea exactly what the Greater Conroe Chamber does?
Well, the mission of the Chamber is to provide economic and support the economic development and the quality of life of Montgomery County, and that is through providing opportunities for local businesses to get some educational support, marketing support, anything that they need to help grow their business, and that's what we're focusing on at our Chamber now, utilizing the resources of those long-term members in our Chamber to help leverage those smaller organizations that might not have those resources.
Can you give us some idea of some of the particular programs you're currently offering?
Yes. On a monthly basis, we have what we call our Chamber University, where twice a month we're bringing in professionals to talk about different topics that might help their business. An example is technology, how to market your business with the new social media options. A lot of organizations still haven't embraced Facebook or Twitter. Those are not necessarily the end-all, be-all, but it is to help them drive traffic to their businesses for a very minimal cost. And then also we have an entrepreneur, a gentleman enterprise trainer who travels the world, and he provides an hour-and-a-half seminar and workshop for people to learn maybe how to, similar to what Silver Foxes does, how to create a business plan, strategic planning aspects, how to market to certain areas and outside of the norm. So it's gone very well. We're looking to enhance that and bring in some leadership development. We have a great leader that's going to come in and donate her time to talk about the person that they see every morning in the mirror. What makes them tick. A topic that is out there will be emotional intelligence. How do they deal with their emotions in different situations when they go to work? And then we're also looking at different aspects of healthcare, healthy work environment, to help educate the business owners about if they have healthy employees, from stretches to getting them on certain type of fitness regimes throughout the week. Then they'll have a happier, healthier employee and hopefully have good benefits from that as well.
What do you see the Chamber long term, the changes that might occur over the long term?
Well, I see, the evolution of technology on how we can make our information easier for people to actually reach out and get. A lot of our businesses, they're behind the counters, they're under a hood, they're on a machine all day. How do we provide those opportunities so that they can enjoy the opportunities that we're providing during most of the time for those that are coming during lunch or breakfast meetings? A lot of our members can't make those, so we're just trying to figure out how we can do that. And I think our chamber definitely needs to evolve more in the county level and the state level. One of the focuses I'll be focusing on is being in Austin more, helping with the legislative side of things to better represent our community and our businesses as different legislation is passed, so we can help support maybe proclamations and different things will help the voters and those that make those decisions be aware of what our thoughts are here in our area.
Well, let me ask you this. What is your geographical coverage as far as your membership? What area, what part of Montgomery County or surrounding area do you try to cover?
We our service area reaches west out to Montgomery, up to Willis, and then to the east part of the county. There's some overlap with the other chambers, such as the Woodlands Area Chamber of Commerce and the Community Chamber out in East Montgomery County. But we have a very large area, goes from larger cities down to a community and city such as Cut and Shoot and Panorama Village. So we have to make sure that what we're offering is comes in all shapes and sizes, because a one-stop shop with a membership doesn't necessarily fit everyone. So we try to listen to the needs of those, and what one city or entity might need will be totally different for another, and we try to work with them on a one-to-one basis.
What are some of the things that you attribute to the success of the chamber thus far?
Well, I think our tenure in the community, this year we're at 79 years of service, and next year we'll be hitting our 80th birthday. It's one organization that people know, regardless of what area or what city you're from. With in any part of the United States, there's typically a chamber of commerce. A lot of people coming into the area, they come to the chamber for that information, just for maybe tourist information and those type of things. And I think that we've just got 80 years of solid reputation of helping provide information to the businesses and just supporting the community in a number of events that we do as well.
Let me ask you this. One of the questions that came in after we posted that you were going to be on the show was from Bill G. Identified himself as that, and he asked if I'm a sole proprietor, what are the advantages for me as a sole proprietor, obviously a small business guy, to joining the chamber?
Well, I think some of the new attributes that we've rolled out in our new membership levels is that we have a talented staff that can help with marketing, set up a marketing plan. We've had some small business owners come in, have no clue on how to make even a postcard for a ribbon cutting or a grand opening. We've sat down with them and give them some templates to let them pick and choose, and we've developed that for them. The other thing is just the resources, having them come in and say, hey, I really need a business coach or an advisor. We've got great options such as yourself with Silver Fox Advisors. And sometimes it's not that we're necessarily doing the work for them, but we're that conduit of information, and that we link them with another chamber member that can help them at different levels, from the financial backing, needing funding for a certain type of organization within our bank members, to just, like I was saying with the advisors, and just needing someone to sit down with one-on-one and just ask those questions.
Let's talk a little bit about our theme for this month. Planning. What kind of planning does the chamber do in general?
The great thing of the chamber, I report to a board of directors, a group of volunteers that represent the community here, and we have committees, and our committees meet on a typically a monthly basis, depending on which that event comes up, when that comes up, and the larger ones we meet on a year-round basis. And I think for our planning side of things, for the committee work, it's the meetings, it's the notes, it's using email to make sure that we can get all the people, all that information in. And with our board of directors, our planning is out 3 to 5 years, and really working on our business plan on how on where we're going to be in those years, because as things change, we need to be looking at that. And then down to the staff level, we have staff meetings every week. Everyone brings the hot topics for that week. We recap what happened before. And then we also have to make sure that our front desk knows everything that we do, because they're the first point of contact with people walking in, and then for phone calls, and then answering information or questions about what's on our website. So it hasn't been all the best. This last year of transition, have 100% staff turnover. We've had to really kind of see how everybody best communicates and make some adjustments that way. But we feel with the technology and our new website and different things that we're doing, it's going a lot better. And so we're always looking at to enhance that as well.
And how important would you say planning is to your business of running the chamber? I
think that's the first step. I think you've got to, essentially sit down and figure out what your ultimate goal is, and then how, sit down with a group of people and plan on how you're going to get there, and bring people out that might not be as close to it, such as an advisor or another board member that might have served previous terms, to come in and kind of give their opinion on that. Because I think sometimes when we're working on something, we might be too close to it, and we're not catching all the other elements that could essentially affect the outcome. But if it's not for planning, nothing would work. And I think it would be you can minimize the term organized chaos, because with events, it's going to happen. But I think the more and more that you meet and you plan, the less of those distractions that come out, the better the event's going to be, or the outcome of a project or anything else that you're working on.
For our listeners to understand the Chamber as a business, let's kind of convert here for a second. How many employees do you have?
We have 3 or 4 full-time staff, including myself, and then we have 2 part-time staff that work our front desk area. And we rely on a group of about 32 volunteers that make up our board of directors.
So really, truly, you are a small business. I mean, let's call it 6 employees and yourself.
Correct.
And then volunteers. And how many people do you serve? What's your membership?
Our membership right now is 1,000 members, and within those members, with different employees that membership impacts, it's well over 10,000 people, depending on the size of the membership that the level that they have. But bigger than that, it's the community, the resources that we bring to the community, that we do for the community. Even though that they're not members of the Chamber, we're here to help support that as well.
So you really are a small business. That's interesting, and I suspect a lot of listeners don't realize that with the number of employees. And, of course, you have 1,000 clients, if you will.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting. Let's take this down to a personal level, because I really wanted to focus our topic on planning today, kind of on personal planning. And personal planning to me is what I do day to day to keep myself organized and make sure I'm doing the right things. What do you do on a day-to-day basis to stay organized?
Well, I always have that tab of paper. Something's going to happen. I'm going to have a conversation with somebody, or read something in the news, and I'm always jotting something down to make sure that I bring that up and pass that on to a member that might need that information. Keep our staff aware of things that are going on. Utilizing technology in my phone. It's amazing what we were doing a few years ago without the cell phone, but that phone is, my computer as well. So making sure that I have notes, dropping myself, I'll sometimes text myself something to remember, if depending on where I am. And then I try to debrief, the weekends are a great time, even though I might not be at work, is just kind of refresh and go over what happened the past week and look forward to the next week and make any notes and suggestions of that way. But I think the biggest thing for me is when something happens, do something right then and not put it off. Because I've had a habit of that in the past, and it's come back to burn me when I've forgotten something to mention to someone. And I think the Chamber has to be, that option for people to pass that information on, to make those connections, to get those networking opportunities together. And if we miss one, you never know how far or what kind of impact that would have.
Let me ask you this. Do you personally use any type of, take advantage of any type of scheduling tool, such as Outlook on a computer? Or
yeah, the Outlook. The Outlook on the computer and on my email is one of the is key. We just went through at the Chamber an upgrade to have a server option to where everything will link. And so before, if I put something on my phone, it wouldn't automatically upload to my computer. That was causing issues. So we just went through that conversion. So everything is real time now. And I think that technology is huge in setting reminders, and not just doing it 15 minutes to, an hour, but doing it far enough in advance. So if there's any more preparation for a meeting or something coming up, then I can have that extra time to do that before I have to be in the car getting somewhere.
Let me ask you this question. It comes up occasionally when you have at least 2 or more people in the business. Do you allow anyone else to access your calendar, to make appointments for you?
I have one person that does that, and that's my office manager, Gina Mitchell. We've worked together for over 5 years. There's a lot of trust, and everyone can view it, but one person has access to it to actually make changes and put appointments in for me.
Well, Scott, I deeply appreciate you being here today. I noticed that we're about out of time. Please tell our audience how they can contact you or contact the Chamber if they're interested in membership or any of the things we talked about today.
Sounds good. My door is always open. They can contact me at Harper, Harper, at Conroe.org. And all of our other contact information is on our website, www.conroe.org. Great new website, a lot of new options, and all of our staff are there as well to answer any of the individual questions they might have.
Yeah, I visited your website quite a bit. I personally just joined the chamber here recently, and great tool to use. So thank you again, Scott, for being with us today and offering your perspective on planning as well as your business, the Conroe, Greater Conroe, LakeConroe Area Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Do you ever wonder what's going on in the business community? Are you looking for ways to get plugged in? Cassandra Roshan here, Director of Membership Development with the Greater Conroe, LakeConroe Area Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to invite you to tune in to Chamber Chat. Tune in the first Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. so you will be in the know for all Chamber happenings for the month. Each month, the Chamber offers 2 free lunch and learn sessions, a networking breakfast, business after hours, membership luncheon, as well as many other special events throughout the year. I will give you a rundown of all programs and events for the month, as well as interview our speakers and hosts of these events. So grab a cup of coffee and tune in to Chamber Chat the first Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. Chat with you then.
Hello, this is Dennis Nelson, inviting you to come with me through the doorway of imagination and into the theater of the mind. The Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour presents a play every Saturday night at 7 p.m. on Lone Star Internet Radio. Be it drama or comedy, thriller or love story, every exciting episode is carefully chosen straight from the golden age of radio and performed live by talented actors, musicians, and sound effects crew. Every sound you hear will be 100% live and homemade. Anything can happen. So join us, please, every Saturday night at 7 p.m. for the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
Well, good morning again. We just had a wonderful interview with Scott Harper, the president of the Greater Conroe, LakeConroe Area Chamber. I hope it was helpful for those who were listening. They run a great organization over there, and as we learned, 6 employees, 1,000 clients. They're another small business, if you think about it from that perspective. And what I want to talk about in the second half of the show is about our topic, which the topic for this month is planning. And we've had a number of people send in questions, and I want to try to answer some of those questions and talk about this in light of primarily today the personal planning aspect, how we plan for ourselves each day and how that can make us more productive, more efficient, and at the end of the day make us more money in our businesses. The first question I had came in from a Ted G. Ted's question: I'm a small business. What kind of planning do I need? A great general question to start with today. I would suggest the kind of planning you need, if nothing else, you need a personal plan. In other words, what are you going to do today? What do you want to accomplish today? This can take many, many forms, and I'm not typically one to encourage to do it this way and this way only. I think each of us has a different kind of business. We approach our businesses as individuals, whether it's a small solo practitioner type business or a business with 50, 100 employees. But I think as a business owner, we need to have a plan. In other words, and not just a daytime or outlook. I have an appointment at 9, I have a lunch at 11:30. But what are the 3 to 5 things that I hope to accomplish today? It might be meeting with an employee, an important supplier, client, but what do I hope to accomplish in those meetings? So I give it a little bit of thought. Typically, I do my daily planning at the end of the day. Before I go home, or sometimes I have something in my mind I think about on the drive home, and I might sit down prior to going to bed and just scratch it out on a piece of paper, or I might go to the computer. Ultimately, it ends up on the computer, so the next day when I open my computer, I have a list of things to do for that day. And again, these are things, important issues that I need to address. Sometimes they're as simple as don't forget to order this or do that, but most of the time they're issues. There's things I want to address with certain people that I feel that will enhance the business and move it forward. Another question, this one from Bill W. I'm too busy running my business. When do I find time to put a plan together? Well, this is the proverbial, I don't have time to work on my business. I work in it 24/7. We touched on that in the last half hour. And the challenge here for all of us, ladies and gentlemen, as business owners or people who are thinking about starting a business, is you've got to find some time to work on your business. The idea that you take a step back, you turn off the phone, you turn off the computer, and you sit down and you think about, okay, what do I need to do with my business? Where do I need to go? Some of this time is spent in longer term planning for the next year. What are my goals? What are my budgets? But I contend that on a daily basis, we need to kind of close our eyes, if you will, figuratively speaking, and say, okay, what's important? What's important tomorrow that I accomplish besides opening the door, putting the money in the cash register, waiting on my customers, ordering what needs to be ordered? What can I do to improve my business? We heard Scott earlier today, the chamber. That's an important thing, I think, for any business to consider joining the chamber regardless of size and going to the 2 or 3 events that the chamber puts on. The Conroe Chamber is doing a lot with education, and that may be, hey, I need to take an hour today and attend a class that might turn around and make me hundreds, thousands more dollars than I would have if I hadn't attended that class. So again, to wind up on this question, the encouragement is to take some time each day, each week, each month, a little bit of time, a few minutes. And it might be on the drive home, if you live a distance of 10, 15 minutes from your home, to think about what's important for tomorrow. What's the most important things that I need to accomplish in my business besides the daily routine of working in the business? Another question. This one was from Jenny. What tools do you suggest for putting a personal daily plan together? Well, there are a lot of tools out there, from the old day timer that I grew up with, where you sat down and you had a month and a day at a time, and you wrote down your various appointments. That was more about working in the business, but you also had space to write down issues, phone calls, things you had to do that were more indirect targeted type issues. Today we have all kinds of computer tools. We have all kinds of planning software. Most folks, or a lot of folks on computers, use Microsoft. They use Outlook as far as that, and it has a task section to it. I personally use the task to write down the issues and the things I need to work on in the business, so that they're in front of me and they come up, and I allow myself a certain number of days or weeks to accomplish them. But again, it's not as important to me what the tool is, because you can look around. The tools aren't the magic. The magic is you taking the time away from the daily grind to put this together, to sit down, enter it down in pencil in a computer, and taking the time on a regular basis to look at it and spend some time working on it until you accomplish it. Sam G. wrote, how many plans do I need to be successful in business? And I had to laugh a little bit on that. How many plans? I suggest to you that people like Scott, our guest, the Chamber probably has several different levels of planning because of the volunteer involvement, the type of client they work with, and how the Chamber generally functions. But I believe a business needs a simple business plan, 1 or 2 pages. If you're borrowing from a bank, it may be longer because some banks require a more detailed business plan. I think on a personal plan, that's a day-to-day. As far as a personal action plan and what you intend to do with your life, one of the tools I use in my practice of mentoring is taking that first dollar that we make in the business, the one that gets framed and hung on the wall in the restaurant or in the more traditional type retail businesses, and putting a simple plan together there of when do I want to sell the business, how much do I want, and who do I want to sell it to. That's a simple plan, but it's a guide as I spend the years in building that business, that I stay on track, that I work towards those goals. So I think planning can be 1 or 2 different plans. but it also could be many more if a business has hundreds, thousands of employees. John S. wrote, where do I start in the planning process? I think the answer to that's very simple, John. You start by putting a personal daily plan together. What you're going to do with the day. Obviously, what you're going to do in the business, open the business, your appointments, that goes down. But then what are you going to do as far as, or what do you need to be working on outside that daily routine? Again, and I talk about it a lot, and it may seem repetitious, but it only takes a few minutes, and that's not an exaggeration. A few minutes of stopping and clearing your head and thinking about what is it that I need to do today in the long term, short term, that will improve this business, that will make me more successful. It may be looking at a new product line. It may be interviewing for employees, even though I really don't have an opening, but I have someone who is maybe not doing the best job, and we've tried and tried, but I know ultimately in the back of my mind and in my heart that that person's just not going to make it. But instead of waiting till that failure comes and I have an opening that I have to rush to fill, I will take some time possibly to do some interviewing to see if I can find a better candidate. But we'll be talking about that particular issue in future programs. Dan B. wrote in, I operate my business by myself with one part-time employee. Do I need a personal plan? Dan, I'll tell you, you do need a personal plan. And it doesn't have anything to do with how many employees you have. You've got to sit down again and think about where you want to go with your business and what you're trying to do. Otherwise, you just have a job, and you can get a job with someone else without risking personally your assets and your own time that come along with owning your own business. So yes, Dan, I would encourage you to at least have a personal plan that you can keep track of and update and hopefully accomplish most, if not all, your goals with. William D. wrote in, he says, really, what makes up a personal plan? And I think we've kind of touched on it, and I don't want to be too repetitious with our discussion today, but personal plan is really personal. And it's everybody has their own approach to it, should have their own approach. There's plenty of examples out there. I sit down and work with my clients to develop them, and I ask questions like, what is important to you? But also take a look at down the road, where they want to go with their business. I like to start with the dollar bill that I mentioned earlier. Answer those three simple questions first. Then we kind of back down to the daily things that we want to do in the business, so that when we get down the road 10, 20, 30 years, when they put on that dollar bill, I want to sell my business in whatever year they put on there as a general guideline. And they want to sell it for a lot of money, or they want to pass it on to their children, or whatever it might be, because decisions will be made along the way that if you make them one way, it supports those goals. If you make them another way, you're really kind of heading at a different fork of the road and moving away from that. And it costs you money and more importantly, time if you go the wrong direction. Joy M. wrote in, how often should I refer to my plan? Again, I think you do these plans on a daily basis. At the very least, I recommend weekly. And again, some people work 12, 14 hours every day in their business, and they just feel they're tired, they're worn out, they're fighting the daily life of a business person, and they just feel like at the end of the day they don't have time. So they'll take the weekend. They'll take Saturday, Sunday, depending when they have a little personal time, and they'll sit down and write down their goals, commit to the goals, and then check on what they did in the previous week. And they make an exercise out of this and take 5, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and do this as part of their daily life. So again, there's no magic formula. There's no secret to success except that you discipline yourself and you put this into your routine. Ben K. wrote in, where should I start with my plan? Well, you start, Ben, and I don't mean to be facetious, but start in the beginning. Start today, start tomorrow, start yesterday, better yet. Start when you start your business. If you're thinking about going in business, and I suspect that a lot of our listeners are people that are out there thinking about starting their own business, that's probably one of the most critical times to sit down and build your personal plan and what you hope to achieve and what challenges, because you'll probably have to build a business plan which is built more around the particular business and certain things with a lot more detail than a personal plan. The kind of plan, a business plan, would be what a banker would look for. So they understand what your business model is and where you're going with it. So the personal plan, though, when you start in the very beginning, you start with the dollar bill again, and then you do a daily, weekly plan for yourself and what you hope to accomplish, and then you grade yourself and you rewrite it on a regular basis. Question from Virginia B. I already put together a daily to-do list, but I never get it all done. What can I do to have better results? The to-do list, the old tool. My father used to take a tablet out and write down 1 through 10, 1 through 5, whatever things. And as he did them, he crossed them out during the day. And the last thing he would do at the end of the workday would be tear the page off and recopy any that he didn't complete and put on there the new things that he thought he needed to be doing. The to-do list typically is a combination of daily work tasks that some people would say, well, those are things I'm doing to work in the business, but also a combination of things that I really want to work on the business, things that need to be improved on, things I want to check out that I'm not currently doing. Again, it could be as simple as contact a new potential supplier or take time to meet with someone. Most of us don't want to take time for salespeople. Most of us don't take time to go on the internet, which is a wonderful tool to look for new opportunities, new vendors, new sales techniques, whatever it might be. That's study time. I mean, we're out there looking for education, for contacts. We don't connect ourselves with some of these groups on LinkedIn. I personally am connected to about 7-8 different groups, and I probably spend a total of 20 minutes a week looking at the groups, and if I see a discussion that fits where I have an interest or I feel I have a weakness, I will click onto it and read the comments, put my own comment in it. But that, again, to me, is working on the business. Part of my plan is to try to do things better, make things more efficient, have more time for myself and for my family. So these are the kind of things we do. In the future on the program, we'll be talking about other kinds of planning. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about the formal business plan and how that can be important, particularly, as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to the bank, if you're going to borrow money to get started in your business, most lenders will require some kind of formal business plan. And we'll also be talking about strategic planning. Strategic planning is more of a long-term kind of plan. Many small businesses, particularly sole proprietorships, probably don't have a need for a strategic plan, but they need to take a little bit of time, particularly at their inception, and then maybe once a year to kind of look around at the competition and where the business world is going. The best example, and I've heard this so many times in my business career, was the guys that made buggy whips. And they didn't, necessarily take time to look where the horse and carriage was going when the automobile was invented. That's more of a strategic thinking. Do I need to change dramatically? Do I need to make a major change in my business and the direction I'm taking it as far as the products or services I provide? Because the world is changing, and I think that's obviously very true in the world we're in today with the internet and all the things that are going on and business shifting to some extent, particularly with products and some services to the internet. The threat to traditional business and the traditional approaches to business. It's not just the businesses, but how we approach business is being challenged. But the upside is there are efficient ways being developed all the time, more efficient ways to approach our business. So we'll be looking at strategic planning as well. I appreciate this opportunity to be with you today. Again, we'll be here next week, same time, 9 a.m. Monday morning. Our guest next week, and I feel especially excited to have Todd Bryant with us. Todd is a founder and owner of SBK Benefits. They're a benefit company, and for most of us, that means health insurance. Huge topic in our country today, huge topic in our businesses, huge topic personally. And Todd really has his fingers on it, and he provides consulting and benefit administration to a number of small and medium-sized businesses throughout our area. The company's based in Magnolia, but he's been active with the chamber here in Conroe, the Woodlands, the YMCA, a lot of activities, and I think he really knows his subject matter. So I encourage you to tune in next week at 9 o'clock when our guest will be Todd Bryant. And again, thank you for joining me, Rick Schissler today, Silver Fox Advisor, and we look forward to having you join us next week. Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Our special business guest next week will be Todd Bryant. Check out the Lone Star website at www.irlonestar.com for more information. Always remember that Lone Star Internet Radio is Conroe and Montgomery County's community radio station, where the community comes to connect. Lone Star, serving Montgomery County from the heart of Conroe.